last night in Pittsburgh, and we greet you from PNC Park for Cubs baseball on WGN Sports. Two teams right in position now to be the wild card teams in the National League, the Cubs and the Pirates, to start a two-game set. Great to have you with us. Along with Jim DeShays, I'm Len Casper. Rain out last night. They'll make that up a little later in the season. We'll get right into the pitching matchup. Jake Arrieta, who's been a road warrior for the Cubs, and Jay Happ, a left-hander who will make his Pirate debut.
Yeah, Happ, a kid from, well, not a kid, he's a veteran now from Peru, Illinois, pitched collegiately at Northwestern. You see his numbers in his career against the Cubs, 1-2 with a .557, was with Seattle. Good early, has really struggled of late. Jake Arrieta has been lights out for the last couple of months. He's been solid all year long, and he's been really good in his career against the Pirates.
Cubs a half game ahead of the San Francisco Giants in the wild card race. We'll see the Giants at Wrigley Field this weekend. Jake Arrieta against the Buccos coming up next. Hard way, this bug's for you. Honda, great deals are happening at the Honda Summer Clearance Event. Now at your Honda dealer. Napa, home of Napa know-how. Ford, America's best-selling brand, inviting you to go further in our fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out our entire lineup at your Ford store or at localfordstores.com. Subway, make a smart play for savory subs this season. Score more flavor at Subway restaurants. Subway, eat fresh. And by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Chicago Cubs baseball in sparkling high definition on WGN TV is brought to you by Xfinity. It's your home for the most live sports. Long rainy night last night, but it is picture perfect here in Pittsburgh tonight. It'll end up being a two-game series. Cubs with their fifth rain out of the year. Monday night, making sure the glasses are clean, and hopefully a good ball game tonight. Jake Arrieta, Jay Happ on the hill.
You can see clearly now. The rain is gone.
Yes, you can.
And we have a lovely day, lovely evening for a little hardball. Cubs looking to extend their winning streak. Stands at 5 now, and they'll face Jay Happ, who is making his Pittsburgh Pirate debut here this evening.
So here come the Pirates. They take the field behind the veteran southpaw. And let's look at the Cubs batting order. It's brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Fowler, DeNorfia, and Bryant at the top. Anthony Rizzo went 2 for 2 last night, but those hits will not count because the game did not go at least 5 innings. Soler and Wright, Castro the shortstop, David Ross the catcher, Jake Arrieta the pitcher hitting 8th, and Addison Russell batting 9th.
Let's check in with the Pirates defensively. Jay Happ is a fly ball type pitcher, so it could be a busy night for Marte, McCutchen, and Polanco. They are very capable out there in left center. And right infield will go Ramirez, Gung on the left side, right side of the infield, Walker and Alvarez. Both guys were not in the lineup last night with John Lester on the mound. Pedro Alvarez has made 16 errors at first base this year, by far the most in Major League Baseball. Francisco Cervelli will do the catching, and the aforementioned Jay Happ will pitch for the Pirates. He's 32 years of age, 6'5", 205. Now you look at his numbers with Seattle this year: 20 starts, once out of the pen, 4-6 with a 4.64. Real good early. First 11 starts, he was 3-1 with a 3.31. His last 9 starts dating back to June 11th. Jay has won 1, lost 5, and he has pitched to a 6.80 ERA. That's covering 9 starts.
Ed Hickox will call balls and strikes. Chicago native Tony Randazzo will be at first, Mike Estabrook at second, and Paul Nauert, the crew chief, will handle third. Pirates with the best record in baseball since May 9th, 48 up, 27 down. They're trying to grab a postseason berth for the 3rd consecutive year, and right now holding the top wild card spot. 5.5 back of St. Louis. Cubs a half game ahead of the Giants. They had a 6-0 lead, could not hold that. Actually took another lead in Atlanta last night in the 12th inning and ended up losing a heartbreaker 9-8. So we'll keep an eye on that game tonight in Atlanta, but our main priority is here in Pittsburgh as Dexter Fowler will lead it off. These two teams matching up, being at least 10 games over 500, both of them for the first time since 1977.
Half a 4-pitch pitcher, fastball, slider, change, curveball. And he'll use all 4 of those pitches. He'll use the slider, curve, and change just about the same amount. He likes to start down in the zone with the fastball, then climb the ladder.
Swung on and missed, 1-2. You mentioned Happ is from Peru, Illinois. That's about 100 miles west southwest of Chicago. Attended St. Bede Academy and then on to Northwestern. Majored in history at Northwestern. Drafted by the Phillies, 2004, 3rd round. Got him on the inside corner for strike 3 called.
Nice first impression for Jay Happ. He's good at first impressions. His best year as a major leaguer, perhaps his rookie year when he was a 12-game winner with the Phillies. Mr. Fowler rung up on a borderline pitch, looked to be a bit inside. That's how the game started last night, too. And we talked about this earlier. Fowler, I was reading a story on him a few weeks ago. For whatever reason, was among the league leaders in being rung up on pitches out of the strike zone.
Sinker just off the outside on Chris DeNorfia.
In 2009, Happ's rookie year, he was 12-4 with a 293 for the Phils. Finished runner-up for the Rookie of the Year award.
In the dirt that time. Francisco Liriano last night, Jeff Locke tomorrow, so Bunch of left-handed starters facing the Cubs in this series. Cubs 13-8 versus lefties. Missed away, 3-1.
Yeah, Cubs, that last road trip, they missed Johnny Cueto in Cincinnati. They're missing Garrett Cole here. They're going to miss Madison Bumgarner in the upcoming series with the Giants at Wrigley.
Hopefully they can take advantage.
.289 lifetime for Denorfia against lefties has not been that good this year. Playing time has been inconsistent. For a while there, went a long time without seeing any left-handed pitching.
Denorfia has homered twice in his career against Happ, 4 out of 14. Chris Bryant on deck. Anthony Rizzo, either guy in front of him reaches. Hit well the other way, but foul. Kind of strange, this game of baseball. We mentioned Rizzo went 2 for 2 last night. Doesn't count. David Ross caught stealing a pickoff. Doesn't count. Michael Morse made his Pirate debut. Didn't count. I guess in a parallel universe it did. Long battle here between Happ and Denorfia. Did our 4-inning broadcast count? We made a couple of good jokes, I have to admit, but they didn't count. Denorfia with a base hit. McCutchen will cut it off. So I think you can
reuse that. Whatever we said last night, we can say again tonight. Like that's ever stopped us in the past.
Chris Bryant back in the lineup last night after leaving early on Sunday due to dizziness. Headfirst slide at second base. He's going to try to go feet first from now on as much as he can. Big season series against the Pirates. 10 games so far for Chris. 382. 13 hits, 10 walks. He's knocked in 13 as he bounces to third. Backing up Ramirez. He bounces the throw. It's offline. Bryant's safe. And I'm not sure he would have gotten him anyway.
No, I think they'll probably give him a base hit on that one. And base hits have been hard to come by for Chris. He's been in a pretty good funk here for a good while. Boy, once you start to retreat, you're asking for trouble. Well, they're going to rule it an E5.
So 2 on for Anthony Rizzo. First 20-20 guy in Cubs history. That's home runs and hit by pitches. 20 homers, 21 times he's been plunked.
Still with a legitimate shot at 20 stolen bases too.
Home run cut. Came up empty.
Left-handed hitters hitting .287 against Jay Happ. He's been able to neutralize the power of the lefties. They've only hit 2 home runs against him. Batting average wise, they've done just fine against him, and Rizzo has wore him out.
Cubs have taken 6 of the first 10 in this season series. That'll go 19 games total. Ripped into right and a base hit. Runners had to freeze to make sure the liner got through, so they're loaded for Soler with 1 out.
That was a loud crack of the bat. Rizzo continues his good work against lefties, and Jay Happ in his debut with the Pirates finds himself in first inning trouble. A little early run support for Jake Arrieta would be nice. The Cubs have not scored while Jake's been in the game in his last 2 starts. 2 starts ago, they didn't get a hit. That was the Cole Hamels game.
Big opportunity here. 3 on, 1 out. Swing and a miss by Soler. Pirates got Happ to replace A.J. Burnett in their rotation while Burnett recovers from a strained elbow. He's hoping to be back at some point before the season ends. Knocked down by Cervelli. Pitch bounced out in front of the plate. Burnett, a first-time All-Star at age 38.
Yeah, having a dream season, but chance it might not finish well for him with that injury. He's hopeful of coming back in a month, but at his age, that injury, would not be a shocker if he didn't make it back, or if he did, that he didn't pitch effectively.
1-1. It's low. 2 balls and a strike. Northey at third, Bryant at second, Rizzo at first, just getting started. The pitch outside, 3-1. So he's got Happ up against the ropes here. A favorable count with the bases loaded.
Happ doing some deep thinking right now, deciding how aggressive he wants to be here with Soler in this hitter's count.
He walked him and forces in Northey, and the Cubs lead 1-0.
Like they're trying to go outer third with a fastball, and he reached back for a little something extra and just pulled it across his body. Missed badly inside. Ray Searage, the pitching coach, out to talk with Happ.
That'll bring up Starlin Castro. A chance to really jump on Happ here in the first inning. Already a run in.
Happ lifetime 55 and 59 with a 4.29 ERA. From Philadelphia, he went to Houston, moved on to Toronto. He's there for part of 2012, all of 13 and 14, and then Mariners this year.
9th major league season for Happ. Ball 1 on Castro.
So this year or last that he got hit by that comebacker? He got hit in the head with a line drive.
It was as a Blue Jay, I believe.
It was 2 years ago.
In 2013 missed almost 3 months with the Blue Jays. Pitch number 26 of the inning. It's a strike. And it's 1-2. Bounce to third. The throw will go to the plate, and they will get Bryant on the force. Ramirez could have tried for 2 around the horn. Because that ball was not sharply hit, he took the less risky route. You think he made the right play?
I do. We'll get a better look at it here. Big high bounce. Well, I don't know.
I think he did. I
mean, I think that's
a tough turn.
It's a safe play. He's got a tough angle making that throw back to second base.
And if you don't turn two there, you give up that run. So here's Ross, bases loaded.
Yeah, and I think this early in the ball game, you're just get outs.
From the stretch, big leg kick, pitches low, 2-0. David not afraid to take a walk. His batting average 184, but his on-base percentage almost 300.
Also not afraid to take a big swing, and we might see one right here.
Bounce to the shortstop. Gung will flip to Walker at second, and that'll end the inning. Cubs have to settle for one. Pirates coming up against Jake Arrieta. Stolen bases lead the league in doubles. Polanco, Marte, and McCutchen. Very formidable outfield. They should be together for a few years. Ramirez and Gung replacing a couple of guys who are currently on the DL. Neil Walker gets to start at second. Pedro Alvarez, converted third baseman, now playing first. And the battery goes 8 and 9. That's Cervelli and Happ.
Check in with the Cubs now defensively. Dexter Fowler in center, flanked by Soler and Denorfia. Rizzo, Russell, Castro, Bryant first to third. David Ross behind the plate for big Jake Arrieta. Hard throwing right-hander having an outstanding year. 11 wins, 6 losses, 2.62 ERA, a measly 2.14 batting average against. Lefty's hitting just 193 against him. He's allowed just 9 home runs all year long.
When you use the word measly, it means something bad, but in his case, it's very good.
Last 8 starts, 5-1 with a 1.53 earned run average.
Polanco will lead it off. Takes ball one on a fastball. Remember May 15th at Wrigley Field. He'd like to forget it. He slipped in right. Bottom of the 12th on a Matt Caesar fly ball. Cubs ended up winning the game 11-10. say that was one of the more memorable finishes we've had. We've had a few. Two balls and a strike. Soler plays pretty deep and right. Not so much for Fowler and Denorfia. Talking with Chris before the game last night, he said he'd rather take away a blue pit out there and left. Swing and a miss by Polanco. As a pitcher, you'd like to hear this. He said, most pitchers, they make a pitch, they want an out. Because of all that real estate in left, it kind of feels like he's got to play in a little bit. He said, if you get beat deep on a ball, yeah, it's going to go to the 410 marker, so be it.
Yeah. You're right. I think pitchers feel that if you make a good pitch, you induce weak contact, you expect an out. If you hang a breaking ball and the guy smokes one and the guy doesn't make a play on it, it's on you.
Calculus changes later in a game, and 1-2 run game, you play no doubles, trying to take away that gap. Full count on Polanco. Marte next. The 3-2 on the way. Bounce right to Castro. Here comes Starling Marte. He's done some damage against the Cubs. Very good defensive outfielder. He takes ball one. Friday in Cincinnati, a couple of highlight reel plays in the ninth inning to help preserve a 5-4 win.
Yeah, maybe a little bit underrated because of Andrew McCutchen, his partner out there in center field, who's a perennial all-star, but Marte has blossomed into a very good major league player. It's for average, decent power numbers.
Yeah, when you start to check off the boxes as he tries to bunt his way on, doesn't find success there, but he does just about everything well except to take walks. So let's go back to Friday, ninth inning. Nails a runner at home plate. It's a one-run ball game here. There's Brandon Phillips, and then Marlon Byrd trying to tie the game. Diving grab that ended the contest. It's kind of a Gold Glove inning right there,
sure
isn't it?
Yeah. That's a Marte Partey is what that is.
Yeah, that's what Greg Brown calls it. Fine voice of the Pirates. Here's McCutchen with 2 outs, nobody on.
Not a ton of at-bats for McCutchen against Arrieta, but good numbers for him. 7 out of 17. That's a .412 batting average.
McCutchen has always put up good numbers against the Cubs. First month was pretty slow, but last 76 games hitting .324, .418 on base, .554 slugging. MVP type numbers. 3-1.
Doesn't take long for Jake to get up to speed. Some guys come out of the bullpen. It takes them a little while to find their velocity, but not so much with Arrieta. He's usually 95, 96 right from the get-go.
Fouled in and out of the mid of Ross. We'll do it again. Ramos Ramirez is on deck. Another 3-2 on its way, and he walked it. You said this to me a couple of years ago in our first season together, and the more I talk to hitting coaches and pitching coaches around baseball, I think it's really true. That 3-2, what's a guy going to do? Is a very important part of this game. It comes down to scouting reports, and Andrew McCutchen's one of the rare guys, and most of the elite hitters are like this. Got to give them the illusion of a strike on 3-2.
Yeah.
Not much anxiety there, is there?
Yep. Well, he's so quick. He stays balanced. He doesn't chase very much. When you watch him hit, he's real quiet in the box and he's real quick to the ball. So that allows him to let that ball travel a little bit longer. Yeah, and once, you know, and guys like McCutchen, once they've been in the league a while, they get a feel for how pitchers are going to pitch them. And most aren't willing to give in.
Castro, the nice backhanded play, and he'll get it to Russell. They force McCutchen, and the inning is over. We played one here in Pittsburgh. It's 1-0 Cubs.
Click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner to connect to all the up-to-the-minute stats and information while you're watching at home. Game Zone is sponsored by The Great Escape. Pools, patio furniture, hot tubs, and more. Everything you need to have more fun at home this summer, except for watermelon and lemonade.
1-0 Cubs. Jake Arrieta.
And creamsicles.
You like creamsicles, huh?
Oh, I haven't had one in a long time.
You better get on that.
I think I recall liking them.
One ball, one strike.
So Happ dodged a little bit of a bullet there in the first. Gave up one. Could have been worse. Good swing.
Arrieta homered earlier this year. Career 140. Happ is the 8th starting pitcher the Pirates have used. As he strikes out Arrieta. Back a couple of years. Such a scary situation. So Joe Madden will remember that. And Jay Happ would just as soon forget it. He had nowhere to go.
Yeah, boy, that was really scary. He's a good guy. I was with him in Houston. Real good guy. Not that you wish, that on anybody, regardless of their likability. But nice to see him be able to make it back from that and pitch effectively.
Base hit through the hole on the left side. Addison Russell is on. Very confident young man right now at the plate.
Well, he's made some tweaks to his swing, and he's seeing the benefits of it. So that that matters. You make changes, you buy in, and then you have positive results. And right now, Addison Russell feels like the sky's the limit. You see it in his body language.
Fowler caught looking to start the game.
Happ, an 11-game winner for the Jays last year, 11-11 with a 4.22.
Off the plate inside, Dexter Fowler spent last year with Houston, working with John Maley. Chris Coughlin worked with John as a Marlin. Now John Maley getting a chance to work with all these young prospects.
Yeah, what a great opportunity for a coach to be on the ground floor with all these young kids. There's so much upside to be able to nurture that and bring it along. Peaks and valleys for sure. That's the nature of the game.
One on the way. That misses. Now 2-2. Pirates really good at home, 35-17, but Cubs actually have a better road record than they do at home. 30-23, the best in baseball currently. Strike three called. 2 outs.
Going up on a pitch last time that was off the plate inside. This time Happ does catch the inside corner.
It's DeNorfia. He singled and scored in the first. George sends us a tweet. Have we enjoyed a Primanti Brothers sandwich or Rita's Ice here in Pittsburgh? Now, I've had many Primanti Brothers sandwiches. I'm not familiar with Rita's Ice.
Yeah, it's an Italian ice thing.
I have never tried it. Have you?
I've seen the buildings. I don't know that I've ever had one.
We will look into it, George. Thank you for the suggestion.
Kind of like the snow cone family.
Okay.
Thinking? I don't know. Pretty good lead measured there by Russell.
Yeah, I've never Not a huge fan of flavored ice, but
give me an extra pump.
Not a knock on it. My fair share of slush puppies when I was a kid. Blue tongue, the whole deal. Knocked down by Cervelli. That'll keep Russell at first.
There you go. Mr. Norfia went to Choate Prep. Choate Rosemary Hall, it's called now. This is a place that is, JFK went there, Adlai Stevenson, all manner of dignitaries. Paul Giamatti. It's quite an alumni game they must have. Alumni gathering. Jay Happ, I talked earlier about him and his ability to elevate the fastball and have success up there. He doesn't have real good sinking action on his fastball. It just doesn't come out of his hand that way. So typically gets a lot of foul balls, runs a lot of deep counts. That coupled with his Cubs lineup, and pitch count will become an issue for Clint Hurdle here tonight. He's already at 47, working in the second.
Driven out in the left center. McCutchen will try to cut it off. He does on the slide. Russell's going to be sent. Gung's relay throw to the plate is in time. And hang on a second here. Joe, I think, is going to ask about a possible blocking of the plate. Excellent relay as Gung got it to Cervelli. We're going to wait to throw it to break here. Hang on a second.
I think he's just buying time so he can review whether there's a chance that Russell got the foot in before the tag, because it looked like Cervelli was okay giving him that back corner and then lunged out with his leg after receiving the ball. So you get a good look at it here. Yeah, it looks like he's got, quote unquote, a lane, and then with the ball, Cervelli moves into a blocking position. So it looked like a clean play by the Pirates. And boy, what a play by Andrew McCutchen out in left center field. That's what made the play. That two very strong throws.
I'm with you. The throw was there well before the runners, so I think they'll have a tough time if they challenge having this one overturned. But
I'm assuming that's what we're talking about, but I don't know. I'm not sure if there's something else in play here. But look at this play by McCutchen. Good strong throw to Gung. He turns and fires right on the money to Cervelli. Perfect one-hop throw.
Now Joe's bringing Paul Nauert into the discussion.
Well, with that angle, and that's the angle Joe's looking at that play from the first base dugout, there doesn't appear to be much of a lane there for Russell. This play is got to be revisited and refined.
The other question I would have, though, did Russell ever touch home plate?
But that becomes moot if the play was illegally blocked.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So ultimately, no review. Inning over. happy with the call. Fans were kind of getting on him a little bit behind the first base dugout. He said, okay. And a little tip of the cap here from Joe to the Pirate fans. Gong with a little dribbler out in front of the plate, pounced down by David Ross.
David Ross is among the league leaders for defensive runs saved as a catcher in the National League.
By the way, not that we need to say it, but I guess I do feel a bit compelled to say it. That's a good send. That's an automatic send for Gary Jones.
I've got no problem with that send. With 2 outs.
That was it, as you said. Great play by McCutcheon.
Yeah, you force them to do everything.
By Gung.
Yep.
Cervelli did everything. So
that
multiple parts that have to go right.
If that throws a little closer to the body for Cervelli, there's a real good chance he doesn't handle it cleanly. 2 outs. That's the time to be aggressive.
The other question I got on Twitter, would Russell have been able to run over Cervelli? Yes. It's the other thing I think people don't understand with the changing of the rules. The idea of the collision at home plate was to get rid of the guy going out of his way to run over a catcher. A catcher who might not be blocking his path.
Yeah, and I think it's confusing for base runners now, because rarely do you see a base runner try to jar the ball loose by hitting the catcher. Because there is a lot of confusion surrounding that rule. So more often than not, we see a guy just slide into the tag.
Three and one.
Walker has turned into a very good player. He's popped to the second base position. This is his power side. He's a switch hitter.
And 2 on the switch hitter. 6 consecutive double-digit home run campaigns, tied with Hall of Famer Bill Mazeroski for the most among Pirate middle infielders all time. And he'll do it again.
A native son, he was a standout football player in this area as well. All 10 of his home runs have come from this side of the plate. Arrieta has just chewed up left-handed hitters. 193 with 3 home runs against Jake this year for lefty hitters.
Popped up third base. It's Chris Bryant. 2 outs. Arrieta to Alvarez, inside corner. Dead pull hitter on the ground for sure, as you see the Cubs shift.
Call him the Bull. For good reason. He's a strong man. A lot of swings and misses, but tremendous power. He went into a boat earlier this year out in the river. Flew it into the boat. It's the third time in the history of this ballpark that a ball has flown into the river.
Couldn't get him to bite on a curveball.
He wants to change up. David went through every sign he had. Fastball in, fastball away, cutters both sides of the plate, the curveball, and then finally got to the change.
Swing and a miss to end the inning. 1-0 Cubs early. Call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
Cub fans, don't forget to check out Len and JD's baseball blog at WGNTV.com. The blog is sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your nationwide insurance agent serving the area for 37 years. To join the nation, contact Jeff at jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side.
Swing and a miss by Chris Bryant. Oh, 2. Reached on an error in the first inning. Could have been given a hit, but it was called an error instead on Aramis Ramirez.
Yeah, it was an errant throw. I don't know if it would have beaten Chris at first base or not. It was not a pretty play. He kind of backed up on a chopper. I get the sense the official score just looked at it and had a sense that it just looked ugly. But certainly could justify a hit because the ball was fielded cleanly, and Chris very well could have beaten that play at first.
Got him.
Able to test your mettle. He has been in a funk here. Lots of swings and misses for Chris. We got some numbers earlier going back to July 7th, I believe. I have to double check, but a 138 batting average. A lot of ponderous looks from the bat rack for Chris these days. Looking out, man, what's going on? It'll get better.
Pitcher strike. Do not want to let Jay Happ settle in. He certainly wasn't settled in the first inning, although he only gave up one. Play for Ramirez.
Yeah, Clint Hurdle's got to be feeling good the way this game has progressed. Got away with just the one in the first and a man thrown out at home in the second.
Deep center. McCutchen on his horse. He's not going to catch it. It's going to one-hop the wall. And Rizzo pull up with a double.
He got those 2 hits back that he lost with the rainout last night. He has scalded both of these balls here tonight. Solid signal to right and a ringing double straightaway center field. Short hopping the wall.
Bases loaded walk. Late the first run. Soler swings at one in the dirt. Rizzo on his way to third, and he would have been out probably, but Cervelli could not get a handle on it. So it goes a wild pitch. And ultimately it worked out.
Yeah, well, it was a great look there. A little bit late on the break for Anthony, but Cervelli can't get a clean handle on it. Rizzo gets the third with one out. The Pirates are going to pull the infield in because they're up against Jake Arrieta.
They were knocked down by the catcher.
See the infield in, but Gung, the shortstop, playing back a little bit on the pull side. If Soler pulls the ball on the ground, he's much more likely to hit it with plenty of pace than he would if he hit it to the right side. So Gung can afford to play a little deeper, increase his range, and still have a real shot at Rizzo if Anthony's going on contact here.
Three and two. Patient night for Jorge.
See if the patience last time buys him a hittable pitch here on 3-2. It did. He got a challenge fastball just a little bit behind it.
Got him. Big strikeout for Happ.
The previous pitch was the one, and Jorge wasn't able to do anything with it, and then a good slider down and in to finish him off.
Infield back with 2 outs and a strike to Castro. Cervelli has had an inning, hasn't he? With a blocking drill here.
Yeah, well, and he's ready to react. And this is, I'm guessing, Cervelli's first time he's caught him. I can't imagine that there would have been an opportunity in the past. So it's one of those things you like to know. You like to have some experience with a guy before catching him in a game. Does he bounce his breaking ball? What kind of action does he have on his heater? If I call for that Barry slider down and in on the right-handed hitter, can he get it there? And Happ's last, oh my goodness, they're living large right there. Size of those cones. Happ's last start to July 30th at Minnesota did not go well. 3 1/3, allowed 9 hits, 7 runs, 6 earned. Start previous to that, July 25th against the Jays, just an inning and 2/3, walked 4, allowed 3 runs.
Ross on deck, 3-1 on Castro. And he drives one out in the right center. Boy, I'm surprised Happ gave him anything to hit there. Castro trying for 2, and he's going to get in. 2-0 on the RBI double.
Yeah, after all that time and conversation and going back and forth, they decide to throw a fastball, and it ends up right over the heart of the plate. This inning goes strikeout, double, and the Cubs are up 2 now.
Going inside on Ross. Into center and a base hit. Castro around third. He's going to score. 3-0. David Ross comes through.
Couple of big 2-out knocks here, Castro and Ross. Boy, the way Arrieta's going, that might be enough right there.
Arrieta cuts and misses. and 2. lot of traffic here early on. Cubs have 7 hits, a walk, a reach on an error. 9 base runners. We're only in the 3rd inning. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Pretty well hit. McCutchen, though, will get to the spot. That'll end the inning. 3 hits and 2 more runs. Jake Arrieta, more cushion as he'll go back to work on the mound, leading 3-0. Still brewed the hard way. This Bud's for you.
Cub fans, don't miss your chance to catch a game at Wrigley Field. The Cubs return home Thursday. It's a 7-game homestand. Giants and Brewers are in town. To purchase tickets, visit Cubs.com.
Three nothing as the Pirates will bat here in the 3rd. Really turned away, and that pitch was a little in, a little low. That's in there for a strike.
You talk about all the traffic. Jake Arrieta's been to the plate twice. Happ hasn't been up yet. He's on deck. Killing him in time of possession.
Shank foul, 2-2. What a night. 81 degrees as we got started. A little bit of cloud cover, but all in all, just a gorgeous night. Beautiful setting for baseball right here on the Allegheny. Great shots of downtown Pittsburgh. Underrated city. Strike 3 called. Probably swung at it anyway, but that pitch was in the zone.
darting slider. Back-to-back strikeouts for Arrieta now. Yeah, this city years ago, I can't remember who did the survey or one of those ratings, and it was voted the most livable city in America.
Really?
Yeah, and a lot of it was, I think, because of the suburbs. But now downtown has really picked up.
Yeah, this ballpark frames the city and the skyline incredibly well.
People come pouring across that bridge. That's the Roberto Clemente Bridge there. So at some point before the game, till some point, well, after the game, they'll close that bridge down to vehicle traffic. It's all foot traffic as people make their way back and forth from downtown. We were here so long last night waiting out that rain delay that the saxophone player wasn't on the bridge when we walked home.
I know
It's
that.
always there.
That is a rarity. I always look forward to the Andy Griffith theme. At around 10:30 p.m. after a Cubs Pirates matchup.
Could have been.
Missed.
This seemingly would be an easy pitch to make, but sometimes it's not, because the negative thoughts start to crawl into your head. I don't want to walk this guy. Got to turn it loose.
Strike three called. That's 3 in a row now for Jake Arrieta.
Cub fans, show your Cubby pride with Cubs checking and an official Cubs MasterCard debit card, only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/Cubs to learn more. Member FDIC. Last couple starts for Arrieta, pedestrian by his standards. He worked 6 innings in each of those 2 starts. The no-hitter Cole Hamels game, he allowed 3 runs, 3-run home run to Ryan Howard. Last time out against the Brewers, got a no decision in a 5-2 Cub win. Allowed 2 runs in 6 innings.
Blanco strike.
Ooh, good changeup.
This is one where you're elated that the Cubs won the game, but part of you feels bad for Polanco. And oh man, once he started to slip. That's one where you're almost happy it's early in the season, so Polanco has a lot of time to forget it. Because
he'll never forget it. That thing was
but if that had been the last play of the season, could you imagine going into the winter having to
look at that.
work with that? Left field shallow. DeNorfia is there, and that is the inning. It's the Cubs 3 and the Pirates nothing. Addison Russell, a swing and a miss. Cubs with 7 hits. Jake Arrieta has not allowed any through 3. On a bounce to Gung, the shortstop. Jordy Mercer on the DL. So is Josh Harrison. Assuming those two guys are back healthy from the stretch run, it's just going to help out the Pirates bench.
Yeah, those would be significant additions when they're back. They obviously have added Aramis Ramirez, Jay Happ coming over deadline deals, Joaquin Soria, excuse me, joining the bullpen, a bullpen that has been arguably the best in the National League. Extra 0 for 2 caught looking both times. First time the pitch was off the plate inside. Second time it was a perfect pitch right on the inside corner.
Ramirez gathers it in, gets it to Alvarez in time.
Let's take a look at our Mazda replay cam. Kristen Orfia 2 out of 2. What a play by the Pirates here. McCutchen in the outfield cutting that ball off into Gung. Solid one-hop throw to nail Russell at home plate. Really great execution by the Pirates. Mazda, conviction, creativity, courage. This is the Mazda way. And a tip of the cap from Joe Madden.
Never let the pressure exceed the pleasure. Joe lives by that motto.
Fun and games.
The Orfia pops right along the right field line. Foul ground now, and it's Polanco to make the catch. So Happ with his first 1, 2, 3 inning. We go to the bottom of the 4th. Cubs 3, Pittsburgh nothing.
With John and Farrah Lester, celebrities, of coaches, of players. The first ever Never Quit night at the Metro. Auction items, dinner, cocktails, a take on Hollywood Squares that is just Supposed to be a whole lot of fun. Net proceeds from the event help fund pediatric cancer research. Tickets are on sale now. For more information, check out CubsCharities.com.
Cubs looking for their 6th in a row.
Think that little guy's paying attention to the big leaguers? Got the shades on the back of the hat. The whole look going.
Cubs 4 back of the Pirates for the top wild card spot. Standings at the end of the year are just like they were going into this game. It will be the Cubs here in Pittsburgh in the play-in game.
Cubs 6-4 against the Pirates so far this year. So a couple series left with them after this one.
No makeup date yet on the rain out last night.
A mutual off day on September 14th prior to a 3-game set starting here. But if they were to play on that date, it would be 30 consecutive days for the Pirates. So they would have to get approval. The players would have to vote and agree to do that. Otherwise, I'm guessing a double dip one of those other 3 days.
Arrieta can't get it. Castro does, however. He gets him. Starlin gets Starling.
Stays low, moves through that ball. No wasted motion. Well done.
McCutchen walked in the first inning. Only base runner so far for the Pirates.
This is Jake's 3rd start against Pittsburgh this year. Both previous starts, 7 innings and 1 run allowed in each of those 2 games, which has kind of become like his default outing. You know, it's kind of
that's the Jake Arrieta quality start.
Yeah.
Well, he's gone at least 5 innings, 25 in a row, dating back to September of last year. 221 on the road. 153 his last 8. 17 of his first 21 starts. Quality. And that's the Pirates' first hit out in the left center. McCutchen finds some space.
2 reaches for McCutchen tonight, who came in with good numbers against Jake. Of course, he has good numbers against just about everybody. And talked about his quick bat. You get a good look at it here. Man, he just kind of pulls those hands quietly back into that load position, then whips that bat head through the zone.
Outside, ball 1. So Ramirez gets traded from the Pirates to the Cubs in July of '03. And after that trade through 2011, Ramirez hit 239 homers with an .887 OPS. Pirates third baseman who tried to replace him, 112 homers and a .703 OPS.
What was that span? 03
basically mid '03 to the end of 2011. So his Cubs career.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Who are the primary third baseman for the Buccos in that stretch? Trying to think who they ran through here. Being the Al Martin, Kevin Young era, right?
I think it was after that.
After that.
Let's see. Opening day starters at third base. Chris Steins, Ty Wigginton, Joe Randa, Jose Bautista before he became Jose Bautista.
Like a mulligan on that one.
Andy LaRoche, Pedro Alvarez. Yeah, the Jose Bautista one. Nice play, Castro from a knee to Russell. They're going to turn it. Wow, 6-4-3. That is how you do it. 3-0. CHN Cubs.
She's wearing her hat in the manner of Jake Arrieta. Part of that flat brim tribe.
Yeah. 3-0 Cubs batting in the fifth inning.
One of the more impressive swings we've seen all year long came from Chris Bryant, the first series here this year. He took that pitch in on his hands and hit a rocket off the wall in right center.
So Jose Bautista was traded by the Pittsburgh Pirates August 21st, 2008 for a player to be named later. That guy was Robinson Diaz, a catcher who ended up playing in 43 games with the Pirates in 08 and 09. Let me see if he's still even playing. He is. He's a AAA, 31 years old. But yeah, that's one the Pirates would like to have back as well. Jose Bautista, 400 games as a Pirate, had a .733 OPS, .916 with Toronto, and over 900 games. Called strike three.
Yeah, when he was here, he didn't get regular playing time.
No, he didn't.
Move him around. And then he went to Toronto and started hitting the ball all the ballpark. And I remember at the time thinking, is that the same guy? Is that the guy Pittsburgh had? Or is that a different Jose Bautista?
Yeah, he was 27 when he got traded. It's the 5th inning, and it's brought to you by Fifth Third Bank, the Curious Bank. So Rizzo goes 2 for 2 last night and gets it taken away because of the washout, and he just decides to go 2 for 2 in his first 2 tries. And how about 3 for 3 tonight? Polanco quickly, and Rizzo safe. Ball got away from Gung, so the throw beat him by plenty, but Gung could not handle it. And it is a double.
My goodness, he has just squared up everything here tonight. Good break out of the box, plays in front of him. He knows Polanco's got a good arm, and he knows because he hit it so sharply, he's going to really have to go. Awkward slide, that's going to leave a mark.
Soler with Rizzo at second. I want to send out happy anniversary wishes to Jim and Carol Haddon. Hope you're having a great one.
This is the anniversary of the Robin Ventura, Nolan Ryan event, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, for Robin Ventura, it kind of goes down as the Polanco slip in right, maybe even more embarrassing. Right-hander Jared Hughes.
Happ closing in on 100 pitches here in the 5th.
Soler went.
Soler leaving the bat there as if to say this is as far as it went, and it's not too far. Tony Randazzo said, far enough for me. It's a strikeout pitch last time. It was a slider down and in. I got him last time.
Another 3-ball count on Soler, 3-2. Archimedes Caminero has joined Hughes. He throws really hard.
You can go triple digits.
Pitch number 99 for Happ, and ball 4.
Yeah, this confrontation, Happ Soler, has been fun to watch tonight. The 3-2 counts all 3 times, and twice Soler able to take that 3-2 pitch for the walk. Last time he got a little greedy and chased that slider. Happ thought he would get him to bite again. He did not.
Here comes Clint Hurdle. Castro do.
And he's going to want Hughes, the sinker baller, trying to get double play and get out of here.
Exactly what Clint Hurdle signaled for. It's a 2-seam guy. So 3-0 Cubs in the 5th, 2 on, 1 out, and we'll be right back to Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah,
the singer of that song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You remember the Jaggers?
No.
The song "The Rapper."
I don't think so.
1970, 71. Donnie Iris. Here's Jared Hughes.
Sing me a few bars.
Terrible, sorry.
So, ground ball, extreme ground ball pitcher, ground ball hitter, first and second, one out. At some point, if the count works out, Joe will probably be willing to start the base runners here. An 80% fastballs from Hughes, so there's a lot of sinkers. Oh my.
Pulled to left, and it will be a fair ball. Rizzo scores. Soler will be held by Gary Jones. That's a double for Starlin Castro. It's 4-0.
Starlin Castro is all over this game with the bat in the field. It's his best game in a while. Impressive stuff. So he brought a sinker baller in, trying to get the ground ball, and Starlin says, nope, not this time, my friend.
So they will intentionally walk David Ross to get to pitcher Arrieta.
Soler better score because I've already scored him in my scorebook. I got carried away there.
Already
yeah, I already got him in.
You need to bone up on your minor 70s hits too, because people don't want me to sing anymore, and I really didn't want to have to sing that song. You asked.
Better you than me.
Bases loaded for Arrieta. Here we go. It's a strike. Already leading by 4. And, trying now to break it wide open. A bunt. And Soler is out. Why not? Key there is to not hit into a double play.
Yeah, I imagine Joe told him, look, here's what we're going to do. I don't want you on the bases. I don't want you flying down the line. I want Russell a chance to drive in a run here. I think he's saying, yeah, if he pushed it down the line, they might have been able to score the run.
Yeah, you don't say it explicitly, but what your intent here as a manager in that spot is to avoid disaster.
Yeah.
Inside corner on Addison Russell. Way inside, knocked him down, almost hit him.
And you don't want to put on a suicide squeeze there, because if that blows up on you and you get the out at home plate and Arrieta's still a hitter, then you really diminish your chances of adding on. Just asking him to push a bunt out there, and hopefully he puts it in a good enough place where Soler could have beaten the throw home.
Foul tipped for a 1-2 count. Tim asks on Twitter, bases loaded situation. Do managers ever tell their pitchers to not to swing and take the out? Yeah, yes they do. You'll see it happen late in the game when the manager wants a guy to pitch a complete game. They'll say, don't swing. Yep. Swing and a miss, strike 3. All right, here you go. Does this sound familiar?
No.
Got into it with Nolan Ryan. And it did not work out so well for the younger major leaguer. How old was Nolan Ryan? 1995.
45-ish?
Well, into his 40s, right?
Yeah. What year was that? 95?
1995.
46, maybe? But I've heard Robin talk about it, and I'm sure you have too. He said he got about halfway out there and said, "What am I doing?" So he kind of lost his zeal as he was running out there to confront the legend and put him in a very defensive position. I mean, it's one of those no-lose situations. You're either going to get your noggin thumped a few times, or you're going to punch out Nolan Ryan.
It had to be 93 or earlier. So he would have been in his mid-40s.
Yeah, I think he pitched till he's 45 or 6.
Two and one. Jung Ho Gung. 4-0 Cubs. Good swing. He fouls it off. Nolan Ryan, the only player to have his number retired by 3 different teams. Number 30 retired by the Angels, 34 retired by the Astros and the Rangers.
Whoop. Started with the Mets, traded to the Angels for Jim Fregosi.
Denorfia will make the running grab, waste time. get Young. Here comes Walker.
Did you ever hear of Tim Hurst?
Who?
Tim Hurst, H-U-R-S-T, was an umpire way back. Late 1800s through the early 1900s. Famous, the game was crazy back then. Brawling, all kinds of stuff going on.
Right.
And he was umpiring a game in Cincinnati between the Pirates and the Reds, and fans were throwing bottles on the field. So he picked up a bottle and fired it back into the crowd and hit a guy in the head. Was arrested, fined $100. And a few years later, Eddie Collins was arguing with him, and Hurst spit in his face. And was arrested for that. Ultimately was banished from the game. He was a boxing referee. Actually also managed in the early days of the major leagues.
A little bit of an anger issue, maybe?
Yeah. Apparently, reading up on him, he got in a lot of trouble with the league back in the day because when he was umpiring, he failed to turn in reports because unruly behavior between players was quite common back then, and you were supposed to report it to the league, and he wouldn't do it. He just said, let's just go settle it after the game out in the alley.
Arrieta's 0-2. This is outside. Mike and Barb Simcoe, happy 41st anniversary. From Matt and Misty.
See, under the Tim Hurst philosophy, Milt Pappas and Bruce Fleming could have met under the stands after the game in '72.
I have a feeling Milt would have liked that.
Come on, Spanky, let's get it on. Nice night to pitch, not too warm. Jake has been efficient. His 69 pitches so far.
Moved his feet, 2-2. Walked him. That's an 0-2 to 4-2. Bring up.
Usually,
Alvarez.
Usually in this situation, you say, well, he's got a 4-run lead. He should just challenge him there with a fastball. But he has such good command of that slider. Real good chance he's going to make the pitch with the slider as well as with the fastball. That time he just didn't execute it. No verbiage needed. Message delivered just by jogging out there.
Big baseball news today. Dave Dombrowski, longtime president, general manager of the Detroit Tigers, is out. Now Avila, his longtime assistant, takes over. Flag down by Arrieta. That's Russell covering the bag. It'll go 1-4-3. That will end the inning. And for the first time in a couple of innings, we will not play an obscure song that JD hasn't heard of. I think. Sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. And text Subway to 97999 right now for your chance to win 6 meals from the Simple 6 menu at Subway. Subway, eat fresh. Message and data rates may apply. Go back and forth on data and data. Just kind of depends on my mood. Are you a data or data?
Data or data? I think I'm a data. I don't know, though. I'm giving it a lot of thought.
Okay. Sounds like something you would think about.
I know.
Fowler hits a ground ball to Walker. Extra batting lefty for the first time. And he's 0 for 4 tonight.
Dexter hasn't been able to join the party yet, but the Cubs doing plenty of hitting. 9 hits in the ball game. Norfie's got a couple of them.
Denorfia takes a strike.
Oof, tough slider, tough angle for a right-handed hitter.
Stop. Ramirez up quickly. Safe at first. Infield hit. Denorfia is 3 out of 4.
Hurdle starting to work his way out of the dugout. And this is one of those plays where talk about a lot. Third basemen are taught to get everything they can. But I think Gung ultimately would have had the better shot. No challenge, we play on.
Bryant 0 for 3, reached on an error in the first. Ball 1.
Now, normally you don't hit and run with your sluggers. You just want them to look for a pitch they can drive. But with Chris struggling the way he is, and Hughes being a ground ball pitcher, Joe might put it on just to take the thinking out of it for Chris. Just go ahead and attack this pitch, see if something good can happen here.
There goes Denorfia. Hit and run as Bryant bounces foul up along third.
Yeah, I like the play only because Chris is struggling. Again, we put a hit and run play on, the guy's forced to swing the bat, so he might ultimately have to swing at a bad pitch, and you don't like to do that to guys who can hit the ball out of the ballpark. But when a guy's pressing, struggling, sometimes they get caught in between. They're thinking, and this time there's no thinking involved. Just go ahead and swing it. Maybe you can exploit a hole and get a knock.
Rough start for Happ in his Pirate debut. 99 pitches. So only get through 4 1/3. 8 hits, 4 runs. Denorfia runs again and Bryant fouls. Last place Red Sox at the first place Yankees, and New York has a 4-2 lead in the bottom of the 6th. That is the Major League debut of left-hander Henry Owens. He went 5 for the Red Sox, gave up 3. Masahiro Tanaka for the Yankees tonight. Bryant got hit. Uh-oh. That stung.
I thought it was elbow forearm area. They looks like they're looking at the left hand and the wrist area.
Tough trip for Chris. Got conked on the head the other day in Milwaukee. Well, that's good news, as he will head down to first. Obviously no intent here. Pirates
did hit the just above that elbow, lead elbow.
Pirates hit their fair share of batters, and they got into it with the Reds the other day.
Hughes has such movement on his two-seamer. Right-handed hitter is very vulnerable to him. Yeah, they hit more batters than anybody in the league. They've earned the reputation there. That is their reputation, that they pitch hard inside. I think a lot of it is just guys with a lot of movement. And that's the case with Hughes. Charlie Morton hits more than his fair share with that good movement.
Shallow left. Late break Marte, and off the plate on a bounce. Throw goes to third. Out. So Denorfia just had to make sure, as Rizzo actually thought he was out and was going to head back to the dugout. So it's not a hit for him. Instead of 4 for 4, that's a fielder's choice.
It's a tough read for Denorfia, and you can't afford to drift too far off the base for fear of being doubled off.
Bounce to third, foul. Soler has not put a ball in play, but that doesn't mean he hasn't had a good night at the plate. Deep counts throughout, bases loaded walk, gave the Cubs the lead in the first inning.
Get the feeling in those fingers.
So right, so if you're scoring at home, that is not a hit for Rizzo. Force play at third made that a rare 7-5 fielder's choice. Swing and a miss, 1-2.
Cubs picked up a half a game on the Giants last night. Cubs got rained out. Giants got beat. Giants lead Atlanta tonight 2-1, top of the 7th in Atlanta. Jake Peavy versus Shelby Miller.
Diamondbacks Nationals 3-3 top of the 4th in D.C. Mets with a 1-game lead over the Nats. So New York has won 4 in a row. Washington has dropped its last 4.
Should be getting Steven Strasburg back soon. So he went 5 2/3 rehab outing yesterday.
Hughes home on a 1-2. It's even. Jimmy Rollins in the leadoff spot. 2 hits for the Dodgers tonight. They're at the Phillies 1-1 in the 6th. They were going to honor Jimmy Rollins before the game. His return to Philadelphia. 15 years as a Philadelphia Philly. Lined into left base hit. Bryant around third. He will score. 5-0. A rocket off the bat of Jorge Soler to drive in Bryant.
He just drops a head on a low fastball from Hughes. Rips that line drive over the head of Gung out there at short. Add on. Score early. Add on. Pretty good formula for success.
Clint Hurdle looking to make a double switch.
I'd like to see the exit velocity on that one.
Doesn't it look like Clint's taking his order at a restaurant? I'll have 17 pieces of bubble gum, please.
No pickles. So we will sort out the changes in a moment. Looks like Ishikawa coming in for Alvarez. It's 5-0 Cubs in the 6th.
is at 3:05. First 10,000 fans at the ballpark will receive a Ron Santo retired number flag. That's presented by StubHub. Purchase tickets, visit Cubs.com.
Travis Ishikawa will come in and play first and hit ninth in the Pirates order, and Archimedes Caminero will do the pitching.
Caminero, extreme hard thrower, can reach 100 miles an hour, averages 98 miles per hour with his fastball. He'll also throw a cutter and a split finger pitch. Last couple weeks, not been particularly good. That ERA has been trending higher.
Castro bounces. Former teammate Aramis Ramirez. They get the force play at second, and that's it for the Cubs, but they add to their lead. It's now 5-0 in the sixth. Cubs fan cam. Rusted root. As Francisco Cervelli bounces foul. Five nothing. The Cubs have the lead.
Looking for their sixth consecutive win. It will tie their longest winning streak of the year. Back in the middle of May, they rattle off 6 in a row. Look out. There's a strange noise coming from Cervelli as that fastball neared his rib cage.
Special thanks to Nathan Barnett for his leadoff man segment. Myrtle Beach. Pelicans putting together a really nice season. Won the first half. Division title. 62-45 overall. First year of their affiliation with the Cubs. Jonathan Martinez, 21-year-old right-hander, Carolina League Pitcher of the Week for Myrtle Beach. Cubs got him in the Darwin Barney trade last July. Catcher Wilson Contreras, Double-A Tennessee Southern League Player of the Week. Now he's got a couple of big league teammates, Tommy La Stella and Miguel Montero, on rehab assignments. Fowler in center will grab it.
This Sunday, August 9th, Cubs Giants. First 5,000 kids receive a Construction Clark plush bear. After the game, first 1,000 kids 13 and younger with wristbands will be allowed on the field to run the bases, weather permitting. For more information, visit Cubs.com. You ever been to Myrtle Beach?
I have not.
Yeah, nice beaches, a lot of golf courses. And you can buy fireworks there too from Pedro.
Not only that, I have never met a woman named Myrtle.
Well, what do you think? I don't believe I have either. The home of Coastal Carolina University.
Okay.
The Chanticleers. Cubs have had a couple of Chanticleers here in recent years. Dave Sapelt. And Tommy La Stella. I think Tommy La Stella went to Coastal, didn't he? Maybe St. John's first, then on to Coastal, or
yeah, he did. Look out, a little high. And Travis Ishikawa, first plate appearance of this series. Second stint with the Pirates, 15 games last year. Ended up with the Giants. That big home run in the playoffs. Got a World Series ring. So both he and Michael Morse can impart their playoff wisdom to a somewhat young team who has been in the playoffs the last 2 years. Which has been in the playoffs. Giants won it all, 3 out of 5. Called strike 3. Two down here in the home 6th.
Fourth strikeout of the night for Arrieta. Oh my.
0-1.
And a couple balls hit sharply off him here tonight, but not many.
Yanked to deep right. But on the warning track, it's Soler to make the catch. 1, 2, 3 go the Pirates for the third time tonight. Arrieta with a comfortable lead, 5-0.
for today's Honda game summary. Fairly one-sided affair so far. The Cubs have outscored, out-hit, outfielded the Pirates. The principal players, Arrieta, Rizzo, Castro, all having big nights. Chris Denorfia as well, and Castro going along with that good hitting. Couple really good plays in the field. Honda Dream Garage Sales event now at your Honda dealer. I almost always forget that little part at the end. I hate to do that to the good folks at Honda.
Right, we have people to remind you. The job title, the JD Reminders.
Somebody
stand behind you.
There's a lot of meetings and focus groups to come up with these taglines, these marketing campaigns.
Really 0-2 on David Ross. The pitch. 0-3. Struck him out.
I would think it's not a fun AB for a right-handed hitter against Archimedes. He spent a long time in the Miami Marlins organization. He's always had the big arm, but he battled control problems. Got over here with the Pirates. Ray Searage made some mechanical adjustments. Encouraged him to dial it back a little bit, not to try to throw the ball as hard as humanly possible every time. So I don't know what that means if he backs off to 97 instead of 99.
We haven't referenced Jake Arrieta's socks. We can't see them tonight. Got the long pants. Big topic on Twitter in his last start when he had the old faux stirrup look. Considering shutout ball through 6 on 1 hit, he might stick with this look next time around. By the way, Eric Liao, pitcher for the South Bend Cubs, 9 no-hit innings tonight. Lined in the left and a base hit against Kane County. Unconfirmed reports that game is over, but he has no hit Kane County through 9. It's a scoreless tie.
Oh my! A little Harvey Haddix thing he's got going.
So if we get a final on that, we will let you know. Sixth hit of the year for Arrieta. Now Russell 1 for 2, ball 1.
Yeah, how about Jake turning on the cheese? That was pretty impressive.
So they're now in the 10th in that game. So Liao went 9 no-hit innings. I don't know what the minor league rules are. If it were a big league game, it would not be considered a no-no, because you got to go 9 and you got to finish the game. But it's Midwest League, right? You give them a no-no out of this?
I don't know. I don't know what the policy is. I mean, in the minor leagues, when they play doubleheaders, they play 7 innings. So a pitcher could have a 7-inning no-hitter in the minor leagues. Seems like you should be able to have a 9-inning no-hitter, even though it's not a complete game.
Kane County singled in the 10th to end the team no-no. Swing and a miss for strike 3.
Come out and enjoy the enhanced Budweiser bleachers. They remain a timeless tradition in Chicago, as there is no experience quite like it. Visit Cubs.com/bleachers to buy tickets and learn more about all the available spaces out there. On the bucket list. We're going out there pretty soon, as a matter of fact.
Gets by everybody and allows Arrieta to advance on a wild pitch.
His homestand, right?
I'm not sure. I think so. We've got Milwaukee coming up. Yeah, it's one of the Brewers games. Three and 0 on Fowler. And he draws the walk.
Well, Fowler reaching now. Everybody in the Cubs lineup has reached base tonight. Dan Herron will make his Cubs debut tomorrow evening. Jeff Locke, the lefty, will pitch for Pittsburgh. Here's Big Dan.
Adding with Mike Borzello. Coaching and strategy, or a catching and strategy coach.
Be looking for his 150th major league win.
Well, tomorrow would be a good time for it. The walk for Fowler extends his on base streak, by the way, to 18 games. And gone 0 for 4 prior to that free pass.
Three hits tonight for Denorfia. He's got to be sneaking up on 300.
Another one gets away from Cervelli. And the runners advance. Wild pitch, second of the inning. He struck him out, and the inning is over. Cubs strand a couple. Stretch time here in Pittsburgh. 5-0 Cubs. It's 5-0. Jake Arrieta has been tremendous tonight, allowing just one hit through 6 innings. As always, we're glad to have you with us.
There's a 1-out single by Andrew McCutchen in the 4th inning. And then Aramis Ramirez bounced into a double play to end the inning. A couple of walks. And that's it. Complete control of this Pirate lineup for Arrieta.
2-3-4 now. Marte looks at a strike. Brent on Twitter wants to know our favorite road ballpark. How about your top 3? Would this ballpark make your top 3?
Yeah, it'd be AT&T in San Francisco.
Yep. There's a base hit. Number 2 for the Pirates.
And then this one. And then number 3. It's a really tough one. Let me see here. Looking at the. We're going to focus on the National League because that's where we go.
Yeah,
most frequently.
If I had an American League choice, I'd say Target Field. But
yeah, that was nice. This trip here was the first time I'd ever been there. Minute Maid Park. I love Minute Maid Park. But in the NL, I might go San Diego next.
Okay. I picked Dodger Stadium after AT&T.
I like the grass at Dodger Stadium.
I like hearing Vin. Talking to Vin.
But the people above us in the booth that make all that noise is annoying.
Want to know on McCutchen. Yeah, they did it right here. No question. And we said that when they weren't drawing very many people. But the atmosphere here the last 3 years has been tremendous.
Yeah, that was kind of the thing, right? You came here when they first built it. This is year 15 for this ballpark. And they had all those struggling seasons, and I think that was the thought for everybody that came in here around the National League. Man, if they ever get good and start to pack this place, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Opened in 2001. Going backwards, Three Rivers Stadium, 1970 to 2000. Forbes Field, 1909. 1970. This was the first ballpark built since County Stadium in 1953 to have just 2 levels, lower deck, upper deck.
So they still have part of Forbes Field, right? They have the wall over in the original site, and people gather there every year on opening day. Or maybe it's the anniversary of Mazerossi's home run. I know there's a gathering there. Die-hard Pirate fans. You ever been over there? It's over by the pit, right? By the university?
Yeah, I have not been over there, no. Two to McCutchen, and it's full 3-2.
Boy, he's such a tough out, and he's been on twice tonight. So this seems like the best chance for the Pirates to make a little noise and assert themselves and try to get into this ball game. Going back to his first plate appearance, they walked him on a slider off the plate. We talked about how you have to throw something, at least the illusion of a strike, and so they went front door slider there. So Ross set up inside, and they threw a slider that started off the plate and then ran over the inner third.
He walked the best threat of the night for the Pirates. 2 on, nobody out.
And a lot of hitters in that situation are going to be a little jumpy, anxious, perhaps chase. McCutchen's human, he will from time to time, but we'll bet on it. Tommy Hunter is heating up the Cubs bullpen. Hardly a crisis situation here for Arrieta with a 5-0 lead. If you were to try to draw a metaphor in football, you would say that the Pirates have gotten the ball over the 50 for the first time the whole game. Position where I feel like they might get a little something done. Ramirez 0 for 2, bounced into a double play last time.
Final, by the way, Reds and Cardinals. St. Louis drops a 3-2 decision in Cincinnati. That helps both the Pirates and the Cubs. Pittsburgh now 5 back, Cubs 9 behind the first place Cardinals. Ball 1 to Aramis Ramirez. For 2 tonight. 4 out of 32 now in 8 games since coming to the Pirates from the Brewers.
A little different, wasn't it? A different angle from Arrieta on that pitch.
1-1.
It worked way across his body, creating a different angle. Not only is he overpowering, he's going to get clever out there.
Driven to left. Denorfius got it. Runners back. Hunter Pence just cranked a 3-run homer to give the Giants a late lead. Well, that guy, John Gruden, has become quite a folk hero in San Francisco, hasn't he? 6-3 Giants. And they are in the 8th. Feisty Braves came back and beat them last night. Antonio Bastardo, left-handers up.
Dunn's been on a nice roll. .415 batting average his last 14 ball games. Named the National League Rookie of the Month for July with a .443 on base percentage and a .379 batting average.
Missed the inside corner. It's 3-1. Young has homered 3 times the last 6 games, coming off a month of July, after which he was named the National League Rookie of the Month. He has really lengthened this lineup. The pitch. Grounded foul. 3-2.
Well, there's no guarantee he won't throw a fastball here, but if you're Young, there's no guarantee you're going to see one. So you can't sit dead red here. Arrieta has shown time and time again situations like this. He likes to go to that cutter.
He struck him out. 2 down. First, let's see, second strikeout since the 3rd inning. He's missed a ton of bats here, but 5 overall on the night. And it'll be up to Neil Walker.
Pitcher spot is next. Michael Morse is out on deck. Walker will be looking for something he can yank into the seats here with a couple men on base, down 5. Good pitcher's park, but it's short, tight down the line and right. 320 right down the line in right field with that high wall.
To first, that'll take Rizzo right to the bag, and Jake Arrieta shutting him out through 7.
Reserve your place in line for history in the making. Join the season ticket holder waiting list. It's easy, free to register. For details, visit Cubs.com/waitlist.
Chris Bryant here in the 8th. Just missed a cutter, slider, 93 miles an hour. See the numbers for Jake Arrieta.
Yep, done, and another job well done. Tough night for Chris so far. Reached on an air, a couple of punch outs, and then got drilled on the elbow last time.
Changeup. 1-2. Line left field, base hit.
Got it, baby.
Rizzo 3 out of 4. Tough fielder's choice as he blooped one into left in the 6th. And on the play, D'Onofrio had to make sure the ball got down. Did not, and he got thrown out at third, forced.
2 doubles and a single. All 3 of his hits rockets. Right on the ball. 3 of the 4 times up here tonight. Middle of the 8th, Mets lead the Marlins 5-1. After a 12-1 Met win last night over the Fish. Tonight it's Jonathan Neese.
Kind of neat in Milwaukee this week. You've got the Padres and the Brewers. That part's not necessarily neat, but you've got Craig Counsell managing against his college coach at Notre Dame, Pat Murphy. Got some great quotes. Base hit. That's number 4 for Rizzo. He's 4 out of 5. Murphy said, I was a young coach at the time. Wasn't very nice to him. I'm surprised he ever returned my calls.
And Pat Murphy is Pedro Alvarez's father-in-law.
Well, there you go. Just bring it full circle. Here comes Ray Searage. So Rizzo ties his career high with the 4 hits.
Having some fun with somebody in the dugout. Quite possibly David Ross.
I think Rizzo was telling the dugout 7 for 7. He's actually 4 out of 5 in the series, but he had 2 hits last night before the rainout. They didn't count. And then the unique fielder's choice in the 6th. One 1-0 on Soler. He's had a good night. 98 and a strike. It's 1-2. Mike Fiers making his Astros debut tonight in Texas. Rangers lead 3-2. Actually, no, Dan Straley. Thought Fiers was going to get the,
I think he was
nod.
No,
Former Cub. Dan Straley.
Yes, Fiers pitched already, I think. Straley Dan.
There you go.
Time for the speed replay, brought to you by Xfinity. Nice night for Starlin Castro. Couple of doubles. Solid defense. Starts a double play here from his knees. The second of his two base hits. That one scores Rizzo. Speed replay is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports.
So Fiers 5 relief innings last night. Okay. I think he was supposed to start tonight.
Yeah, Lance McCullers started yesterday for them, and I don't think he got out of the first.
You are correct.
Everybody in the hit column for the Cubs here tonight, except for Dexter Fowler. He's worked a walk at least. Denorfia 3 hits, Rizzo 4. Castro looking for his third. Pirates have won 13 of their last 16 here in their home ballpark. Overall, 35-17. So very comfortable in their own yard.
One and two. Got him on the corner. It's Ross. One and one. 5 runs on 14 hits for the Cubs. No runs, 2 hits for the Pirates. Dan Haren, Jeff Locke tomorrow night. Cubs win this one. It'll be 6 in a row, tying their season high. Their 6-game winning streak came in mid-May. Not done just yet. We go to the bottom of the 8th. Cubs 5, Bucks 0.
drive your car, the Cubs provide free parking and shuttle service on night and weekend games. That's from 3900 North Rockwell. For details, visit Cubs.com.
Tommy Hunter will make his second appearance as a Chicago Cub. Going up Jake Arrieta's 7 shutout innings. 1 appearance as a Cub and a save. His debut
Saturday against the Brewers. 2/3 of an inning through 3 pitches. That's efficient.
Came over for Junior Lake. Final day of July, which was Friday.
Lit up the radar gun at 99 miles an hour.
So the official Pirate debut of Michael Morse. Off the bench tonight. Bounces foul to first. He was in the lineup last night, but it didn't count. Swung at a bad one and strikes out. Our aerial coverage tonight's brought to you by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Cervelli off the end of the bat and a base hit. Drops in front of Soler. Kind of benefited there from not squaring it up. Dropped in front of the outfielder. He's on with 1 out. Bring up Ishikawa. Sent the Giants to the World Series last year. NLCS clinching game-ending homer off Michael Wacha. Game 6. Called strike. Check that game 5 of the NLCS. Giants won 4 games to 1. You know, when I was a kid, and when you were a kid, I could go through about a 20-year period where I can almost remember every playoff series.
Who the combatants were?
Yeah, because you had ALCS, NLCS,
and World Series.
Part of it's I'm getting older, but with the added rounds,
yeah,
it gets a lot more difficult.
Very fuzzy now.
Castro, Russell, Rizzo to end the inning. 6-4 to 3. Tommy Hunter's been impressive in a couple of appearances as a Cub. And we go to the 9th. It's 5-0. First, he thought Ishikawa might have been safe. They just took a look at it, and I think they confirmed it that Ishikawa was out. He will lose his challenge. It is a 6-4-3 inning ender.
Yeah, I think Clint Hurdle just figured why not. Because he's running out of bullets here, down 5. Took a look at it. We've looked at it multiple times. Appeared to be out, and certainly not enough there to overturn an out call. You know, if you're playing fantasy baseball, MLB.TV serves up real-time highlights and pitch tracking on your out-of-market fantasy players live or on demand on over 400 devices. Blackout and other restrictions do apply. Get MLB.TV today. They're doing the chicken dance here in Pittsburgh because that's what you do when your team is losing. You need to lift the spirits. You do the chicken dance, and you bring in Antonio Bastardo.
Boy, you are a segue machine tonight.
You can't just disregard the chicken dance. It's bigger in Cincinnati than it is here. Get it, kids. Michael Martin.
Yep, stays in place first.
Stardo follows Caminero, who followed Hughes, who followed Happ.
Before the game, Joe Madden asked about John Lester's quotes from yesterday. He said he wants his team to play stupid, meaning sometimes there's kind of a blissful naivete with a young ball club, referring to the 2008 Tampa Bay Rays. Here's Joe.
Well, we were definitely full throttle all the time. I mean, that's part of how we played, and you know, you're right. There's the point where you really like to have a lot of experience to rely upon in those difficult moments, and there's other times you can think about our own life experience where you didn't know well enough to just walk into a difficult moment and nail it because you didn't overthink it either. So there's a couple different avenues to explore with all of this, but I kind of like you said that we played stupid because I think it's actually complimentary, and when it really comes down to a naivete, I believe that you're just out there again like full throttle, you're not overanalyzing anything, you're in the moment, you're just playing hard, and you believe you can do it. I mean, I think those are all the components of the Rays doing really well in 2008.
And back to live action, Matt Caesar. Brought back from AAA yesterday. Here's the 0-1 from Bastardo. Bounced foul, 0-2. He'll need a new bat. Maybe a little chip off the end of it. Justin Grimm getting ready.
Is this the third recall for Matt this year? It's his 5th stint with the Cubs, as a matter of fact.
Old foul, yeah, he made the opening day roster. And has been brought back 4 times since.
I think he was away a little longer this go around than the previous up and downs. .295 hitter at Iowa this year with 4 home runs. 18 driven in 36 ball games.
Polanco, right center for the out.
Had a 12-game hitting streak going on though at Iowa when recalled. So Mike Hessman, how about that?
433 minor league home runs. All-time minor league record. $109 games in the majors. Braves, Tigers, Mets, but no big league time since 2010, and now he's 37. So if he ever gets back, it'll probably be brief and more symbolic.
Yeah, and
than
I think he said he was going to retire at the end of this year, going to coaching with an eye towards managing. It'd be fun if the Tigers called him up for September.
Especially if, if they're not in it at least late. Yeah. Bring him up, give him a couple of at bats.
Previous record holder was Buzz Arlett. And then Hector Espino in Mexico has hit more than Hessman, but that's not affiliated with Major League Baseball.
So when I think of guys like that, the name that always pops into my head, switch hitting first baseman named
J.R. Phillips.
Oh.
I don't know if J.R. was a switch hitter.
Just wondering if you're on my same wavelength here. Alan Zinter.
Zinter, the Z-Man, yeah.
Yeah, he played 19 years in the minor leagues. Made his pro debut in 1989. Ended up playing 67 games in the majors with Houston in 02, Arizona in 04.
Yeah, I remember when they called him up in Houston after all those years in the minor leagues. I played with a guy briefly in Minnesota by the name of Bernardo Brito, who hit, I think, 250 plus minor league home runs. Ate a steak after every game.
Really? Ball 4. Russell's on.
That's what they used to say. It's probably not true.
So Alan Zinter, how about this? He gets to AAA for the first time in 1994 with Detroit. He's at AAA in 94, 95, 96, 97, 98 with the Cubs, 99 with the Cubs, 2000 with the Cubs and the Diamondbacks, 2001 with Houston, and like over 100 games all those years without a big league call up, and then in 02. That's incredible.
Yeah, well, I think at some point it becomes a case of let's just reward this guy and call him to the big leagues.
One on Fowler. And he pops it up, foul territory, out of play. Well, how many did Crash Davis hit in the bit?
200 and some.
Lead off man, he had like 247, and he needed 20 more to set the record.
I played against Jerry Keller in the International. King Kong Keller, they called him. He had a bunch of minor league home runs. He had some major league kind.
Pretty well hit. But he got under it a bit too much as McCutchen makes the grab.
Jerry Keller hit 203 minor league home runs. They're not playing the big leagues, I don't believe. He's from your part of the world, Eastern Michigan University.
Ypsilanti. Strike. Another guy we should mention, Mike Coolbaugh, who tragically died after getting hit by a line drive coaching the bases. And it's the reason coaches now wear helmets on the bases. He had a long minor league career as well, just a couple of cups of coffee in the major leagues. Bottom 9, 5-0 Cubs. Out last night and back home, long stretch, 19 days in Chicago. The only road time will be on the south side at the White Sox, 14th through the 16th. Ford, America's best-selling brand, inviting you to go further in our fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out our entire lineup at your Ford store or localfordstores.com. Caesar in. Grimm is in. And a strike to Polanco.
Grimm 1-3, 1.65 ERA as he takes the mound for the 36th time. Just picked up a couple of saves along the way. Pirates have managed just 3 base hits in this ball game.
Gets away from Ross.
3 base hits, 3 walks, 2 base runners were erased with double play balls. Just not a lot of traffic for the Pirates here this evening. Jake Arrieta came into this game with a 2.21 road ERA. 7 scoreless here will obviously improve that. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Ed Hickok's a home plate umpire.
The reason why they set up on the inside shoulder of the catcher is to try to avoid that. You're not always protected. After tonight's work, Jake Arrieta's season ERA stands at 2.50.
Drilled out in the right center. Marte, as Fowler gets it back in quickly. Really no chance. Double for Marte. He's 2 out of 4. Arrieta put up a 253 in 25 starts last year, 22 starts and a 250 this year. Quite a run. Not going to comment on the howling. Not going to do it.
And we've talked about
my blood pressure low. Get in the right,
serenity now.
Yeah.
That 250 ERA for Arrieta would be good for 7th best in the National League.
Ball Castro will come in and get McCutchen.
It's more than a full run higher than what Zach Greinke has done.
Incredible.
Off the charts.
2 outs, 9th inning. Aramis Ramirez. 0 for 3.
Ooh, what was that one? Cubs have 3 pitchers in the top 20 in the National League in earned run average. Arrieta at number 7. Jason Hamill 16th with a 3.13. John Lester 19th with a 3.26.
Lester will go on Friday against the Giants. Caught by Russell. Cubs win. The leaping grab by the rookie Addison Russell. And the Cubs shut out the